just say adjustment of, I'm sorry, put down correction D.
Okay.
Right, we can make the presentation. Sorry for lengthening the meeting, everybody.
Okay, well, it is 9:06. We have quorum. Let's get started. We on? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Buffalo Water Board special meeting. Today is Wednesday, December 17th. It is now 9:07 a.m. We're going to get the meeting started. As we do with every meeting, if there is a member of the public that's either virtual or present, please raise your hand in the chat or come out mute or raise your hand in the meeting and we will acknowledge you and give you a few minutes to speak on any topic that you like. Or if you would look at the, I'm sorry, we move it over to, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead there. Tony, you want to do the housekeeping?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sutherland. Good morning, everybody. This is Connor Benny with GHD. I'd like to wish a warm welcome to everybody coming to today's December Water Board meeting. As a reminder, this meeting will be recorded. And to start things off, I'd like to introduce a couple of housekeeping measures. To reduce the amount of background noise, we kindly ask you to stay muted until you're ready to speak. At the time you're ready to speak, please state your name and affiliation for the record. At this time, I'll begin taking the roll call, starting with the board members. After I say your name, please say here or present. I'd like to start with Bill Thunderland.
Present.
Debbie Lombardo.
Present.
Scott Philman.
Present.
Bill Hanley.
Present.
And Tim Donovan.
Present.
Thank you, board. I'll now move on to the regular attendees, starting with Peter McLeod.
Present.
Jack McMahon.
Present.
Fuad Arif.
Present.
Charlie Martirana.
Present.
David Hill.
Present.
Doug Folks.
Present.
Ellie Lee.
Present.
Bill Ferguson.
Present.
Stephen Waldvogel.
Present.
Dustin Steiner.
Present.
Matthew Adam.
Present.
Damon Rand.
Present.
Pat Thornton.
Present.
Jeff Mays.
Present.
Bill Jackson.
Present.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I think that covers everybody, so I'll pass it back to Bill Sunderland.
Thank you, Connor. All right, board, if you would look at the agenda that we passed out, we've got a couple of changes or additions to the agenda. Under item number 4A, we're going to have a discussion on the rate consultant. And item 6A, as Charlie stated, we're going to have a deed correction that you'd like to speak about. And then finally, item number 8, executive session. Charlie?
Yes, please.
Yes. So those are the additions that I have to the agenda. If there's any others, please speak up. Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as so mentioned?
Bill will make the motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Lombardo will second the motion to approve the agenda.
It's been properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions. All in favor? We're just going to do it as one.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item number 2. Approval of the meeting minutes from November 12th. November 12th, yes. So board, you should have a copy of the meeting minutes that were previously distributed. If you would take a look at those, see if there's any changes or amendments that need to be made to those. Your board, is there any amendments that need to be made to the draft meeting minutes from November 14th, or no, okay, November 12th? Is there a motion to approve the draft meeting minutes?
Yeah, let's make a motion to approve the minutes.
Been properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item number 3, which is the public comment period. As we stated on the beginning of the meeting, if there's any members of the public that are on virtual or in person, you can come off mute or raise your hand in the chat, or if you're in the meeting, we will acknowledge you and give you a few minutes to speak on any topic. Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to item number 4, the draft financials. Bill Ferguson.
Hi, Bill Ferguson, city accountant. I'm not sure how much you want me to go over based on the conversation from last week's meeting. I guess the overall summary is that we're doing well, and there is some concern with the level of accounts receivable and when to write them off.
I think you should go through it.
Okay, Bill, can you go through it? I'm sorry, because some of the board members weren't here at the last meeting.
Okay, if Connor, if you just want to scroll up, this is the auditor's report. It is a clean, unqualified opinion. We're just on that. We just missed it. Okay, right here. One more page. Right here. Okay, it's a clean, unqualified opinion is what we want to see. It says that the statements are prepared in conformity with GAAP, and they materially represent the condition of the water board. If we want to scroll down. Keep on scrolling. We're going to, this is the, this section here is a management discussion and analysis, which provides a very brief snapshot of what's going on. If we go to the bottom of this page here, where it says basic financial statements, it explains what they are. Statements in that position will translate to a balance sheet in the for-profit world. Statements of revenue, expenses, and changes in that position would be our version of an income statement. If you want to scroll on to page 4, please. Right here, this is the condensed statements in that position. It's showing that the excuse me. It's showing that the cash is actually decreased, but if you look at your current liabilities have decreased by a similar amount. We're holding on to a lot of cash at the end of 2024, and also our accounts payable were higher. A lot of that's just timing when the check runs go out. Accounts payable are lower and the cash is lower. The receivables net are only $10 million, but when we look at the major, the full statements themselves, there is a rather material allowance that's added onto them. Non-current assets, we have that's the investment in the system, and you see that went up by a net $8 million this past year. That also includes charges for depreciation. The non-current liabilities, the rest of the current liabilities are due to the water board, the water finance authority, and due to the water enterprise fund. The due to the finance authority would be the bonds payable. Those are held by the water authority. They show a receivable from the water board for the payments, and the water board shows a payable to the water authority for the outstanding bonds payable. What's due to the water enterprise fund would be the accrued absences, OPEB liability, etc. If you want to move down to the next page, please. And this is, well, the last year's, the 2024 versus 2023 comparative statements. We probably don't need to go over that at this moment. If you go down, continue on, please. And this is the condensed statements of revenue and expenses and changes in that position. You will see that our operating revenues went up by almost $3.1 million. That would be due to the rate increase that took place in fiscal 2025. Expenses went up and mainly for the water meter repairs and other expenses. Those are all non-capitalizable expenses, but all just on general routine repairs and maintenance, etc. We show our depreciation charges there, which are a non-cash item. And if you look to the other financing sources and uses, the transfers to the city's general fund, that is the amount that's called for in the financing agreement that gets paid to the city's general fund of $9.3 million. And you see there's an apparent net decrease in net position of $4.4 million. Just bear in mind that $8.8 million of that was a non-cash depreciation charge. If we go on to the, keep on scrolling down, and this is the comparative statements from 2024 versus 2023. We don't probably need to discuss that either at this moment. And table 5 over here is our summary of capital assets, which shows them by category. You see we have around $5.5 million of an increase in buildings and improvement and almost an $11.1 million increase in the infrastructure for the system. I think it's showing that the system we are maintaining and adding onto the system. I think that is a positive sign for the water board. If we want to continue scrolling, please. And just, we'll go on to the statements themselves, which will be the next couple pages. And this is the full statement of net position. We talked about it in summary, but if you see the receivables here, the receivables are $8 million, but we also have an allowance of doubtful accounts of almost $36 million. And the question that's raised is how long do we keep those on? When should they be written off? And I think more another factor to consider is that when should these be attached to the property's tax bills, as almost every other municipality in New York State does, versus just writing them off? That is food for thought for the water board at a future date. The rest of them, we talked about the capital assets, the liabilities. We talked about the accounts payable decreasing, the due to the water authority and the water division of water, the water enterprise fund. And then we have a total net position of $68 million, 43 of which are the net investment in capital assets. $25 million will be unrestricted. If you could scroll on to the next page. Here we're showing the full statements of revenues and expenses. We pretty much touched on everything here when we looked at the MD&A. We want to scroll down to, and then the next page will be the statements of cash flow, which pretty much takes the accrual basis statements and break them out to the change in cash. And at the bottom of this page, the reconciliation of operating income to net cash provided. It shows that the operating income was $8.4 million. We want to add back depreciation expense. We saw the receivables increase by almost $2.8 million, but we also paid down accounts payable by around $6 million. So all in all, and we have another $1.4 million change in the deferred inflows, which is a non-cash item. That all relates to the pensions. So really pretty much net cash provided by operations was around $8.3 million for the fiscal 2025. Then the next pages will be the notes to the footnotes. This is the reported entity. It states what the water board is and its relation to the city and the water financing authority. That's all standard language that's been in the statements for years. No changes here. If you want to keep on scrolling. And these are the accounting policies, just pretty much what the accounting policies are for the major classes of assets and liabilities and deferred inflows and outflows. Once again, that standard boilerplate. Want to keep on scrolling, please? More policies and new pronouncements that are coming out, none of them which will really affect the water board in any material manner in future years. And this is showing the cash equivalents. It's required disclosures. We have around $500,000 in FDIC insured accounts, but most of our cash it's uninsured, meaning it means not insured by the FDIC, but it is held by collateral by our various banks and trustees. That's standard because you never keep all your cash with you can't keep the cash of a entity our size in FDIC insured accounts. If you want to keep on scrolling, please. Receivables, once again, it talks about what our policies are for receivables. Again, showing we're pretty much sitting on $44.3 million of uncollectibles at the end of 2025 for customer receivables. Capital assets, we talked about that. What was happening there, that we can continue here. Pension obligation, these are several pages of required disclosures. Let's just scroll through those since I don't think anybody really wants to go into details about rate risk and everything else compared to the state's pension system and what our share is. But these are all required disclosures, which take up many, many pages. And this one here is the OPEB, the other post-employment benefits. It just gives a disclosures about the number of participants that are covered under the that get post-employment benefits. And that is also that amount is on there as a liability, but it's a liability as due to the city's water enterprise fund because the employees' costs are held there, but they're borne by the water board. If you want to keep on scrolling, please. And you see the total, if you want to go up just one little bit, one page, that's fine here. The total liability is around $22 million. But that's $22 million, assuming that for the next 30 some years, if we were to pay out everybody, we would need $22 million. But we do pay as you go. And actually in New York State, it's not allowed for a governmental entity or an authority to pre-fund OPEB because that pretty much would be raising rates to cover liabilities that are out there in the next 20 or 30 years. These next pages just are more actuarial information. I won't go through those. And this here is just showing what we talked about too, due to the Water Finance Authority and the City of Water, the debt and the compensated absence and the OPEB benefits, et cetera, that we already covered. And this is a summary of the debt at year end that's held by the Water Authority. We did not issue anything in fiscal 2025. And right now the balance at the end of the year is about $147.5 million of outstanding bonds. And the bottom table is 2023 compared to 2024. Because since these are comparative statements. Want to keep on going, please? And this is it's a breakout of what constitutes a due to the city's water enterprise fund for the $27 million. Most of it is the post-employment benefits obligation, along with some other payables and workers' comp, et cetera. If you want to keep scrolling, please. And this explains just what the different amounts are. And the last note just saying that we have evaluated all events through November 13, which is the date of that they could have been issued, and there's nothing that needs to be recorded that would affect the 2025 statements. The rest of the report are other supplemental information relating to the pensions, etc. But the very last page is and would be the investment report, which is a required part for the Paris filings for the state budget office, and that is the very last page. So when we file the Paris report, we can check off that the annual investment report that's required under the Public Authorities Law has been completed. So that's the statements in a nutshell.
All right, thank you, Bill. Board, are there any questions regarding the draft financials as Mr. Ferguson has presented? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the draft financials as presented?
Hanley, I'll make a motion to accept the draft financials.
Gilman, second.
Been properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. We're going to move on to item number 4A, which is the rate consultant. Charlie, or you want to take this to rate consultant?
Sure, let me begin at least. The board has been advised that Lisa Foti has retired. She has been the rate consultant for many years. So the question becomes replacement of Lisa Foti as the rate consultant. And under the terms of the financing agreement that, let me just slide over so you can see if I have that. Under the terms of the financing agreement, the rate consultant has to be selected by the Buffalo Water Board and then is also subject to approval by the Water Finance Authority and by the city of Buffalo, which means the mayor and the common council. We have problem in the sense that you have a bond financing coming up, and then under the financing agreement, there's a February 1 date for reports to be presented by the rate consultant, and we don't have a rate consultant. And then on a more long-term basis, you would want to have a rate consultant available, although you could engage one every year who might be different. So for now, the question becomes, how do we select someone quickly? And there was a plan proposed through Drescher Malecki with the help of Bill Ferguson and the Controller's Office, where Drescher Malecki might serve in a kind of auxiliary capacity. They are, to be sure, the longstanding independent auditors of the city of Buffalo, including the Water Board and the Finance Authority. And so the question becomes, how can they maintain their independence if they're also going to be your rate consultant? They came up with a helpful suggestion. I went back to them with the assistance of bond counsel Bill Jackson with the essentially what the duties are of the rate consultant, along with various copies of the last report that was done by the rate consultant, together with certificates that the rate consultant would usually have to execute and deliver, as including the report for any bond financing. There's a key piece in the public offering statement that would be included in that, along with the consulting engineer's report. Anyway, the long and short of it is I received a message this morning, literally just before the board meeting, from Drescher Malecki that indicates they are appreciative, but they decline to become the rate consultant. They need to maintain their, shall we say, independence and not engage in even the appearance of some form of conflict. So that Bill Jackson, and Bill Ferguson, that's news as of just now. So we then move to Plan B of how to engage a rate consultant quickly. Stephen Waldvogel, your consulting engineer, has started a process of talking with people about this. Before we say anything, Bill Jackson, Bill Ferguson, do you want to weigh in at this point?
This is Bill Jackson. Thank you for that update, Charlie. I think as we discussed last week, at the meeting, the role of the rate consultant is unique and is something that bond investors do rely on, in particular, their report and their ability to make recommendations with respect to the rate structure and what is needed to be able to support the debt service on bonds that are issued by the authority. So, I mean, I think it was certainly a worthwhile thought to consider. But now that we know they're unable to serve in that role, as we know, time is of the essence to bring on a rate consultant for purposes of the upcoming financing.
Okay,
And Bill Ferguson, I'll just add, I was on Drescher Malecki's side of the desk when I was at Ernst & Young for about a decade. Actually, that's where I met Lisa Foti. We worked together years ago. Back when in up until the last 15 or so years, a CPA firm could actually do that, but there have been, considering a lot of starting with the Enron scandal, there's been a lot of tightening up of what an independent auditor can do, and they cannot really even recommend on any operational suggestions or making management policy. They need to remain completely independent, which is why they came up with the report that they did, which is pretty much verifying the mathematical accuracy that's provided by the water board and by the engineers. But obviously, as Charlie stated, that's really didn't really cross all the T's and dot all the I's of what's needed to be a rate consultant. But they are appreciative of the opportunity.
Did you have something?
Yeah, so Stephen Waldvogel, GHD. I will turn it over to Brian. Brian, Chairman, has joined and he wants to speak on this issue, but I've been working with Brian and we have identified a potential candidate to fill this role, which I can elaborate on, but I'll let Brian speak first.
Hey, Stephen, why don't you do that a little bit first, okay? Thank you.
Okay, so upon recommendation of one of the board members here, we have been able to identify a local financial firm that is qualified and willing to perform these services. I have been in contact with them for about a week now, and we have reviewed the requirements that Bond Counsel and Charlie put together. We've also reviewed the previous rate consultant report. And given the timing of the imminent bond sale in February, it's my recommendation that you move forward with this company at minimum to support the sale of bonds, because there is some urgency in selling those bonds. However, as Charlie noted, there is a broader obligation on the board to retain a rate consultant annually or semi-annually, or to serve a broader sense. And this firm, RC Mercer and Company, is prepared to do that as well.
So they can do the short term and
They can.
fit on
but-
a lot.
Yeah, they could. However, I've asked them to simply propose on the short term with a secondary task that we can negotiate or, work on subsequently, because we have some urgency on this first task to get the bonding done. So,
Yep.
The gentleman's name is Roger Liss. He's happy to come and join you and speak to you or the Finance Authority. He is well experienced in many municipal entities around the local region, which I thought would be beneficial because he can come in person at any time. But I didn't want to, outstep the board's preference on this. So, the other thing that was on my mind, doesn't necessarily mean you all are in line with that, is there is within your procurement policy, at least within Public Works, there is a $35,000 threshold below which your commissioner and Peter can simply issue a purchase order to retain services. Okay, now this is professional services. so you're not obligated to put out a RFP and go for low bid. But to kind of find the balance within city policy and professional services and the time constraints. Roger has agreed, and I've gone over what he would do, that he's confident he can do these services for well under 35,000 for purposes of the bonding. And if you were to choose to go that route, it may be as simple as, preparing a purchase order this week and moving forward. However, Charlie mentioned that the board needs to appoint or select a rate consultant, maybe on a broader basis, so I'll leave it to Charlie to comment on that. Brian, you want to jump in?
Yes. Yeah. So, understanding the predicament and, also understanding that there's not a whole lot of folks in this space, especially locally. I'm very familiar with Raftelis, as is Stephen, I know. So again, to me, if this was going to be procured for the bonding, and again, it's a professional service, I was just very supportive of having them be retained for the all-encompassing scope of work for rate consultant of record. If Mr. Mercer and his firm were willing to do that. I mean, I understand the urgency of, to issue the bonds and having them for that. However, to me, I just don't think going back to the drawing board in 2 months and then doing this all over again, when it is a professional service, it does meet the, we do meet the requirements if we do retain them for professional service for the broader rate consulting scope of work as well. I would just be willing to do that and allow, staff to negotiate that cost for all of 26.
So to add one other element, I believe, and Peter, you can step in. I believe if we were to receive a proposal from them for a not to exceed of 35,000 to provide all and any services, that can be done rather quickly. And we can circle back at a later date to kind of consider other expanded services as necessary.
And Stephen, what I would need is my understanding, and Bill, you can confirm, purchase orders for 35,000. The only thing that's going to be asked of me through the process is how these were procured. If I can get a statement from you, these are recommended because of X, Y, and Z. Here's the backup. And if I have any difficulty with that because of the situation, I will copy all the players in the game to help us resolve that situation.
This is, it's not, doesn't.
They get caught up in the process, but
Yeah.
I believe we are entitled to do this because it's a professional service given. We're not hiring them because they took a golfing. They're hiring this firm because they're qualified. They meet the schedule and they can deliver what we need.
Right, so it's under the formal professional services threshold. Audit could ask, hey, who else did you talk to? So you should have some sort of procurement summary that, because this is of an urgent nature. It's not an true emergency, which falls under procurement guide, but it's under an urgent nature. It is professional services and, just go
Well,
through
to
it.
attach his letter of recommendation to the PO so they have that explanation.
But you should have some sort of summary. Procurement summary.
I can summarize where we're at.
Right,
Yeah.
where we're at. But Brian, the longer term though, is I think we should still do some sort of formal RFP or RFQ.
When we say policy, I thought I heard someone say policy. Is that a policy of the water board, or that's not per ABO or?
This is GML, General Municipal Law, 104B.
General Municipal Law 104B regarding professional services for a public authority?
Yes,
Or is this, pardon me?
yes.
Brian, it's more than public authorities. It's municipalities, which is broadly defined, and the water.
Again, we're not a municipality. We're not a municipality.
Oh, please listen, okay? It's more than just municipalities in the sense that The water board has previously adopted that as a means to procure services going forward. So that's part of the board's policies and procedures from.
That's all I asked. Is this a board policy? That's what I asked. Is this a board policy?
Yeah.
Which it
So-
is.
What you can do though, per, I think what Stephen is saying and Brian's recommendations, you could engage Mercer and Company if that's what you choose to do for the bond financing that's coming up. And then at a subsequent meeting, we can have a discussion about issuing an RFP on a longer term basis.
That's my
And that will
recommendation.
permit you to have time.
Yeah, and that's
in
what I'm
which
just
you-
going to say for the record. I'd like to say for the record that this is a policy that was adopted by the water board, I believe at the recommendation of a former controller. I don't believe that this is the requirements for professional services for New York State public authorities. I believe that they have the ability to go into professional services for amounts above and beyond $35,000 for professional services. That's all I wanted to state. Could that be wrong? It could be. I'm pretty confident of that, but that's all I wanted to say. It's a professional service. It's an urgent need. The $35,000 threshold, from my understanding, was the policy adopted by the water board at the recommendation of the city of controller at one point.
So at this point, the board can consider how to proceed with regard to the Mercer proposal, which you have not seen. You're basically going on the strength of what Stephen has just reported. And if a purchase order, you have the right to engage somebody right now for professional services, if that's what you want to do. And you can ask for the proposal that you could ratify and approve at your writing about what the scope of services would be. And in the meanwhile, the Mercer Company could start gearing up for what they need to do to serve you going forward. And the bigger picture with regard to a permanent rate consultant can be discussed at a later time. Again, if that's what the board.
So I would like to make a motion to retain is it Mercer?
R.A. Mercer
R.A. Mercer
and Company PC is official.
as our rate consultant for the upcoming bond sale period. And we will address the longer term issue at subsequent time.
In an amount not to exceed 35,000, right? Yeah.
This is Bill Jackson. Just one thing to clarify. I mean, I think the documents say that the rate consultant will be engaged for a 1-year term. Which I think you can still do for purposes of the bond issue, and then the board at its discretion can determine to have an RFP for a longer term solution. But I think in terms of the representations that will be made in the offering document is that this firm will be the rate consultant of record for an appointed term and will be serving obviously in that capacity for this upcoming financing.
And that's kind of where I was going, Bill. This is Brian Gould again. If we're going to have to do it for a term per the documents of a year, and they were able to be a record as well, I just thought that could be the full service for the fiscal year of whatever, of 2026. So we're covered and don't have to revisit this issue again in 2 months because we had the same rate consultant for 40 years.
Yeah,
So that's
I'm fine with that. All right. So there is a motion to retain R.A. Mercer as our rate consultant for the term of 2026. Can you say that?
Yeah.
And the upcoming bond sale. For a second?
Second, Donovan.
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. All right,
So,
Brian.
allow me just to
What
add-
the amount in there in the, we see 35,000. Thank you. Brian, are you still on?
yes.
I'm sorry, because I know you're off-site and I.
I
just
can't
wanna-
vote, I don't think.
No.
No, you can't vote, or you
Yep.
come off camera and vote. But I'm gonna take us out of order for a second, because there's another item that you wanted to speak on.
I'll go to item 6A, which is the deed correction.
Yes, yes, yes. So,
so-
yep. Knowing to hop in, Bill? And I apologize, I'm in the hallway of a hospital here.
No, that's why I want to take it out of order.
Okay, thanks, man. So yeah, I've been speaking with this item, obviously, with Charlie and GHD was involved in some survey preparation for this transaction related to the spoils area. So, met with Charlie at length yesterday just to go over scenarios. And the one scenario, because a restriction of the Ralph Wilson Parks Conservancy related to this project, is they are receiving a grant from the New York State Power Authority proceeds fund. That fund does not permit grants directly to municipalities. Okay. Again, so the whole approach was going in a different direction related to the deed and the deed correction, and it was just getting a bit complicated as far as the execution and timing of that execution. So I spoke with folks yesterday at the Conservancy to do it in a similar format for discussion with Charlie as far as the management agreement that they have in line with the city for the park portion of the Ralph Wilson Park construction and what will be managed moving forward, and the agreement that the city has with the Conservancy. So I asked if they would be willing to go that route for ease of transaction. They would be. However, they don't know for certain if the New York State Power Authority would permit that. With the water board not technically being a municipality, quote unquote. I have a meeting today at 3:00 with folks from NYPA to discuss this option and solution. So I'd just like to get through that meeting to then know which direction we could go. It may result in us having to have some form of special meeting to do this transaction before 12/31. But I just won't know that until about 3:30 today.
Let me address this, okay, so that you want to avoid any confusion here. There are two things going on here, all right? If you look, please, at, and Brian, I'm going through some of the maps that we looked at yesterday.
Yep,
If you
Yep,
look at this
yep.
map, that is this is an excerpt from the 1992 deed that the city of Buffalo granted to the Buffalo Water Board. So when the water board was created back in 1992, this property that you see on this map was deeded over to the Buffalo Water Board. This encompasses basically the water treatment plant, the pumping station. The problem with this description is that it doesn't include any dimensions. It just runs along the fences. And that's basically what the deed says. Along the lines of the fences, that is the Buffalo Water Board property. This is really a portion of all of this land that you see out here going into the park. The fence line at what would be the southerly point, which is down at the bottom where these numbers are located. These are the book and page number of the deed that's reported in the county clerk's office from 1992. But significantly, this southern boundary does not include all of the clear well that you have out there. And I'm not going to speak to how this all was put together back in 92. I wasn't there, but that's where we are. And then the other portion, if you follow that line where it goes up and then to the right, this kind of zigzag to the right of those numbers, right next to that is where the spoils facility is. Okay, so please shift over to this map with the highlighted yellow in it. And this is the map that the blue line signifies the property that has been given by the city to the Conservancy, the Wilson Conservancy. And it's on the screen now, but you can see it better, I think, right here. This map shows within the blue line, the area that is dedicated to the water treatment plant, and then the larger blue line that is all the conservancy property. And as you can see, there's tennis courts, ball diamonds, park property type of activities. But when you look at the blue line, which is along what would be, again, that southerly portion of the water treatment plant, the blue line crosses over into the yellow area. The yellow area in this map is where the spoils facility is now. Okay? And when this map was prepared, there was a decision made that 1/3 of the yellow area would be deemed within the park property, and the other 2/3 would be deemed part of the water treatment plant property. And so the Conservancy does not have the right to use that 2/3 area, if you're following along what I'm saying here. Okay, so the concept is to shift the blue line as it goes through the yellow area over to the left and make that spoils facility all part of the Conservancy property.
Wait, say that again, Charlie?
If you follow this blue line that is going through there, move it to the left. And that would run along the fence there roughly. Okay?
You want the light blue line become the dark blue line.
No,
So that
move the dark
this
blue
line,
Gonna move here, so.
so the new property line will encompass.
Exactly,
This is totally removed,
exactly.
so we lose our spoils area.
Yes.
And the other part of this is that Peter and company, Peter can address this, have identified another area on Dart Street that would be the replacement for the spoils facility.
Is that the
And-
auto impound? Even though that we know that could be very temporary?
Right now, I believe, Charlie, you're in the process of negotiating a 10-year lease agreement.
That's what
You've been in contact with real estate, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
We are,
So these are agreements are going in, or whatever, they're going in parallel, is my understanding.
Isn't Buff State buying, my
let me
last
just
knowledge was
straighten,
Buff State was
wait,
buying. it.
please, let me just straighten this out, okay? With regard to Dart Street, this would be a temporary location. We don't know completely whether Buffalo State is gonna buy that or not. The point is, right now, it's city property. And the city simultaneously is engaging in a acquisition of property out on Bailey Avenue, where they're gonna consolidate public works facilities out to that area. And the idea would be the goal that the spoils facility would move out to that location eventually.
Question, why does the Conservancy need that spoils area?
Brian, you want to speak to that?
Yes, this is part, they will be using that area, one for entrance and children's area, a youth area for the future Ralph Wilson Parks Ralph Wilson Park, which will be done, from my understanding, and open in late 26, early 27. Regarding Dart Street, yes, OSP and real estate are finalizing an item that they will provide to Charlie related to the spoils area being permitted to go there for, there's a minimum of 5, but I believe it is going to be 10. Dart Street is city owned. The talk of Buff State buying that has fallen off the radar. In addition, as part of the Public Works campus, which that deal is closing on the transaction of the purchase of that property. I think about December 28th or 29th of this year. And that project is proceeding forward. All of these items have been discussed with the incoming administration and have their support as far as relocation to DART and then relocation to DPW campus for the spoils area of the Buffalo Water Board. But this site is needed, and for the Ralph Wilson Parks Foundation, the Ralph Wilson Parks Conservancy, again, for their, it's going to be an area where it has youth sports activities, et cetera, but then it will also be a future entrance to the park. There will be, I know there's the clear wells item and underground facilities, Charlie, that we spoke about yesterday, and in the conversation I had with the Conservancy, they would absolutely be willing to provide the proper distance for any type of structure, but the only structure that would be there as of now would be a basically a storage shelter for various equipment of, you know, youth sports and things like that.
So, are you done, Brian?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So, the yellow area, let's make it easy, that, spoils facility will relocate in due time, to Dart Street. That deal will work out. We will ask you at some point to approve a lease with the city of Buffalo for that. It's not going to be onerous or anything like that. From what I'm told, we have not seen the specific terms other than this time frame. Then secondly, depending on Brian's conversation today with people at the state, then we would come back to you and ask you to approve a deed correction with the understanding that this was not correct when it was done back in 1992. Everybody has lived with this just fine because I don't mean to be humorous here, but the same mother and father owned all the property at one point, the city of Buffalo. And now we have a Buffalo Water Board, and we've got the park area being subject to management for the next 30 years, potentially by the Conservancy. So we want to do everything we need to protect the water board's property and its operations. On the screen, you see now a new map, and this has been prepared with the services of Nussbaumer and Clark with GHD's assistance. And this would be the new boundary of the water treatment plant. We will provide these maps to you so you can study them more. Significantly, this map has meets and bounds, courses, descriptions going a certain distance to this point, to that point, that can be objectively reviewed and analyzed and compared to what's in the field. And at the southern end, which north is to your, well, you can see the north arrow, I think, but at the southern end, thank you. That now encompasses what is the Clearwell area. And the spoils facility, that little box, what used to be the yellow, that would be then part of the city property for the deal that Brian is talking about with the Conservancy. So I don't want to complicate things more, but if this was final, we could probably ask you to do a resolution right now and avoid a subsequent meeting. But from what I gather from Brian's report, it isn't final yet. So I think the best we can do is just advise you, this is where we are. And with the goal that we would have some subsequent meeting, possibly by the end of the year, to approve correction of this 1992 deed. And the correction deed, just so you know, from a real estate law standpoint, is a fairly standard item when you can identify that there has been some error in the way property has been described. And you correct it. And in this case, it's not a huge readjustment of the lines. It's really just modifying a little bit. The fence line is identified, and there is a bit of boundary buffer between where the fence is to try to protect the clear wells and the coagulation basin that is there. And that's basically where we are. And the assurance would be that the Conservancy is not going to build anything where that yellow box has been, the spoils facility. And just so you know, and Peter can attest to this, I think historically, the only thing that's been on surface of these properties have been some baseball diamonds.
Wasn't the dog park there?
Yes.
The original location before we had relocated.
Right, but it was there. Yeah, so. Many years ago.
And-
Charlie,
and-
are there any? Go ahead, Brian.
No, please, go, go ahead.
Is there any, because this is a current spoils area, and it's necessarily not indicative of the name. Is there any environmental issues with us moving the spoils from there? Do we have to do any remediation or anything? Nope.
There is a concrete pad, is there not, Peter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just, in case anything leached in there and we've got to do cleanup or anything.
Nope,
Okay,
we are good.
all right,
They'll have to deal with the concrete pad, but
they will. Yeah, that's fine. So Charlie, right now, there is no resolution for the board to.
Well, again, given Brian's report, I think we have to defer to,
Yeah, so,
that.
yeah, Bill, so what, you just again, what kind of, I don't want to say complicates it, but the restrictions of NIPA proceeds fund, again, is kind of the elephant in the room here. So we're trying to basically determine if there's other options as far as how those funds could be awarded to a when they don't have the deed, for a non-municipality, such as the authority. So if they don't need that, then we can go into a different form of a agreement. The deed correction will still be done. However, we can go into a more of a lease format, okay? Where then it's, the water board would actually retain ownership of the property, and then go under a lease management agreement with the Ralph Wilson Parks Conservancy. If the NIPA proceeds fund permits that to happen, which I won't know until 3:00 today.
Charlie, couldn't we, very much like we did with the Kensington Tower, couldn't we just do an easement instead of a lease agreement?
Well, I think,
If the,
right, let me just say, Brian's suggestion about a lease is a little bit unknown at this time. It really has to depend on what the outcome of this conversation with NIPA. The
Yep.
preferred solution, if you will, is that the property would go, that yellow area, the spoils facility, would be given in this correction deed over to the city, and then the city would amend the management agreement it currently has to shift that blue line that we're talking about to the left. And that would satisfy for the purposes of what the conservancy needs, but for whatever this funding issue is, and we're moving at this point, and this is on your agenda as a surprise, so to speak, because we're trying to accommodate the conservancy's timeline.
Brian, why is this time sensitive?
Because of the award of the proceeds funds, there is time restrictions on those funds to be expended. But also,
What is it?
I don't know that exact date, but that is the sensitivity as far as the time. And again, they would have needed full-on title to that property, which there's some complications as far as who owns it, who doesn't own it. Again, this is all well before this board's time. And we're trying to figure out the path of least resistance to get this done to meet everyone's needs. And $4 million for the Conservancy.
I have a question. I see an expense for the water authority or water board, but I don't see anything in return. Is there anything given by the conservancy? It's just an expense on our part. And secondly, do we have to improve the security fencing if we make this happen?
the security fencing is already in proper place because we have fencing that contains both our current fence line there to the left of that line that Charlie showed, and our fence line is in place. So from that standpoint, we're good.
Okay.
Any costs incurred by the water, oh, sorry, guys.
I was gonna say.
Bill, Yeah, any costs incurred by the water board for this transaction, which the folks involved have been tallying, will be encumbered, and paid for by the Conservancy.
But Charlie, there's nothing to really vote on right now.
Right, I think you just need to defer this to whenever we have everything in order.
We need to call a meeting.
Yeah, I don't know. It really depends on what Brian's conversation is. In fact, whether it
Yeah.
needs to be done before the end of the year or at your next otherwise meeting.
Right, or if it can be done at the January meeting, right, right.
Yeah, the next regular meeting, Brian, is January 14th.
Yep. So I'll know more today based on all these timeframes, and then I'll report back to the board.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks, Brian. Brian, just because I know your situation there, is there any
I
other,
appreciate it.
any other
No,
items
Bill.
on the agenda that you want to chime in on?
No, I'm good. I mean, I spoke with Stephen about all the collections language in that policy, so I'm good. And listen, if I am needed, Stephen, just please give me a call back and I can hop back on, okay?
Okay.
Our thoughts
I
are with
appreciate
you,
it,
Brian.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, board, we're gonna move back to item number 5, the 2026 Water Board meeting schedule. We presented this at the previous meeting. These are tentative dates. We're trying to stay to the second Wednesday of every month, just so we're consistent. Realize that some people are gonna have some conflicts as the year goes on. Obviously, the main thing is that we have quorum, so we can vote on various topics there. So looking at the 2026 calendar, is there anything major that you can't live with right now? Looks good. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the tentative draft agenda or draft schedule for 2026? Someone will make the motion.
Wilbur will second the motion.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second, hearing no other comments or all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to item number 6, which is the discontinuation policy. Stephen, do you want to
Sure.
do this up?
Speak to that. Stephen Waldvogel, GHD. Before you, there is a revised draft policy and practice for the discontinuation of water service for non-payment. In September, you previously approved this policy. Veolia has been implementing the policy, yet there were certain items that needed more granular clarity and specificity for Veolia and the team to implement and practice moving forward. The policy is very largely the same. However, it articulates more clearly the balances and the aging associated with the disconnections. It also lays out with a little greater clarity the notification process, so the number of notices and the timing of the notices that customers will receive. Importantly, several exceptions were identified and now clarified so that it allows Veolia to make those exceptions without coming back to the board. It also determines and clarifies the rules around reinstituting service after discontinuation has happened, what type of payment requirements, what type of payment plans can be established by either Veolia and or Promise Pay, who's working for you. So everyone will be working with these same terms and conditions, so to speak. Any circumstance that falls outside of these guidelines and rules would necessarily come back to you as a board, okay? There are a couple of notes in here which I might suggest we wouldn't necessarily publish on our website, and that is with regard to payment plans. there is an initial down payment under certain circumstances with the, I guess, authorization to Veolia to negotiate down to a lower number in a hardship case. Okay? We have put it in there for your sake and your clarity. There has been some discussion of not publicizing that because, people will come in and immediately ask for the lowest terms. Although they'll have to prove hardship. So maybe it doesn't matter if it's in there, but, those are the changes, I would say. And we have defined hardship at the end. And then there, at the very end of the policy, there are some supporting policy and practices that necessarily will arise. If, for instance, the service is terminated and the curb box was damaged or weakened and the line breaks during the turnoff and it indeed is lead, in that case, Buffalo Water will replace the entire thing. And then it details how that service could be returned to the on position. However, if a service is damaged or broken during the turnoff and it's not lead, then that responsibility is on the homeowner. So those items have been described with much greater clarity, and that will be helpful to both Veolia and city staff. So I'll take any questions, or you can ask Veolia as well, if you'd like. But we are looking for, or I would say recommending that the board approve this as the updated policy.
Questions from the board?
No,
Okay, is there a motion to approve the discontinuation of policy and practice for non-payment?
Lombardo makes a motion to, move forward with the new policy.
And we second.
It's been properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Moving forward with that. We're gonna move down to, anything here. Item number 7, which is the limit accounts. Mr. Foltz.
Sure. Good morning, Board. Doug Foltz, Veolia Operations. For your consideration, we have 3 funding request memorandums. The first one being for spoils. Actually went back up. All 3 of these memos are intended to fund each of these limit accounts through Q1 of next year. At that point, we'll reevaluate the financials and see where we're at. First one is for spoils. Current allocation for spoils is $150,000. We are requesting an additional $60,000 based on what we're seeing on from a spend standpoint with our new contract, spoils contract. I think $60,000 should get us through Q1 of next year. See the previous investment, historical trending. If there's any questions, we can go. If there are no questions, we can go to the next one. This one is for specialty maintenance. Current allocation for specialty maintenance is $1,143,173.32. To get us through Q1 of next year, the request is for $775,000. We do list in the memo previous investments, historical trending, as well as current scope of work that's either has been done under this contract here or is ongoing. So any questions? We go to the third. For high priority repairs and lead service line replacements, the current allocation is $4,587,892.72. The request through Q1 of next year is $1,900,000. It is important to note that even though we did pause roll, the pilot program, which consists of 2 samples of 10 parts per billion, is still ongoing. So that would qualify someone from a lead service line replacement. And also, we do need to do service line replacements during the course of normal utility business. In the event that we do a water main repair, we hope to serve if we would replace that as well.
Okay. Board, are there any questions regarding these 3 limit accounts? All right, we're gonna go through one at a time and we will approve each one. So the first one we're gonna do is the spoils limit account. It's an increase from 150,000, an increase of 60,000 to 210,000, which will get us through the first quarter of fiscal year 2016.
Third quarter.
calendar year 2016. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, they make the motion to approve.
Bill, second.
Been properly moved in second, hearing no other questions, all in favor? Thank you. Second one that we've got here, which is the high priority repairs and lead service lines. Current funding is $4,587,892.72. Veolia is looking for an increase of $1,900,000, which will bring the total to $6,487,892.72. Is there a motion to approve?
Donovan makes a motion to. Bill, second.
Been properly moved in second, hearing no other questions, all in favor? Aye. Last one we've got is the specialty preventative maintenance limit account. Current funding is $1,143,173.32. Veolia is looking for an increase of $775,000, which will bring the total to $1,918,173.32. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Donovan?
Hanley second.
Been properly moved and second, hearing no other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, that concludes the regular meeting. So we're gonna go into executive session. So what we'll do is we'll need a motion in a second to go into executive session. Then, for the board members, and then what we'll do is we'll come out of the executive session and then adjourn the regular meeting. So,
Motion.
Lombardo second.
all right, it's been properly moved and second to go into executive session. Thank you, everybody else. Next meeting, January 14th. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.